The next article I wanted to talk about is called Christian Right Leader, I'm Praying for Gridlock to Block Joe Biden's Agenda. This is by Beth Stoneburner on the Friendly Atheist website. So let's give it a read and see what it says. Just weeks after citing a Bible verse calling for death of gay people, Tony Perkins of the Family Research Council has toned down his rhetoric. Now he's just calling on spiritual forces to thwart the Biden administration, which in practice would mean blocking COVID relief payments, not funding infrastructure, making it harder for black people to vote, and all kinds of other policy positions that benefit the country. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, if you're listening to the audio podcast, you certainly haven't noticed yet, but we got Pastor Buckaroo in this clip. He's not wearing a vest this time. I guess I can't call him Pastor Buckaroo. Besides that, using nicknames for people is a propaganda technique, and Trump used it a lot, so I'm trying not to use those terms very much, but what else do you call somebody who wears a vest but Buckaroo? It just fits. Let's watch this clip with Tony Perkins and see what he had to say.
We just need to continue to pray that the Lord would prohibit them from doing this. Look, we need God. We need God to move on our behalf. We need to repent as a nation of the stuff that's being pushed through. Just look at what the Biden administration has pushed through. And we're not even talking the legislation yet.
Okay, so he's about to give us a list of things that Biden did that he doesn't like, right? Let's listen.
But the whole transgender agenda we mentioned a few moments ago, he's put that onto the military.
He's put it onto the military. What is he talking about? What did Biden do with the transgenderism in the military that you don't like? Did he make things a little bit more fair and equal? Is that the problem? Don't like not being a supremacist? You don't like equality? You feel like you're being oppressed because you have to treat people fairly now? Is that the issue?
The elementary and secondary schools. He put it on our colleges.
I honestly don't know what he's talking about here. He's saying he put transgenderism, quote unquote, into secondary schools and colleges. I truly have no clue what he's talking about. Maybe I'm behind on my news, but I don't get the reference there.
But the whole transgender agenda we mentioned a few moments ago, he's put that onto the military. He's put it onto elementary and secondary schools. He put it on our colleges. Look at the issue of abortion. Even not just the repeal, the overturn of the Mexico City policy that prohibits funding in foreign policy, but even the Hyde Amendment that was eliminated in the coronavirus relief bill.
No, untrue. I tried to find evidence of that, and I couldn't find a lick of evidence. Couldn't find anything to support what he's saying here. Maybe I overlooked it. I don't know. Maybe I overlooked it, but I looked pretty fucking hard. I did all kinds of fact checks and research and everything. I couldn't find a word about removing the Hyde Amendment. If you're unfamiliar, the Hyde Amendment is basically this thing that prohibits the federal government from paying funds to fund abortions, basically is what that is. And that's why it's really, really expensive to get an abortion more often than not in most states. Like it's $700, $800, $900, $1,000 sometimes. It's very, very expensive and difficult because Medicaid won't cover it. Medicare won't cover it. The federal government won't cover it at all. So sometimes Planned Parenthood gets donations from people, and sometimes they will cover parts of it, at least subsidize it or whatever. Again, money is not coming from the federal government for that. That's the Hyde Amendment. And no, it was not in the COVID bill, as far as I could tell. I looked all over the place, couldn't find anything to hint at the idea that it was in the COVID bill in any way. So he's just lying here, as far as I can tell. Somebody correct me in the comments if you have some source.
Eliminated in the coronavirus relief bill, the $2 trillion and all the money that's going to flow to Planned Parenthood and abortion clinics.
Yeah, money goes to health clinics for health screenings and things like that. But federal money cannot be used to pay for abortions legally. That's what the Hyde Amendment is. And it was not removed.
Clinics. This is atrocious, and we need to be praying.
I could see him complaining about that, although I would love it if the Hyde Amendment was removed, but I can see him complaining about it if it was real. He's just making shit up now.
That God would move in our country, and that those that wanted, look, I pray for God's blessing on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as they yield themselves to him, as he praying that he would turn their hearts as he does the rivers of water. But if they
are giga religious, or at least Joe Biden is. I've never heard anything about Kamala's faith. I have no idea if she's religious. Joe Biden is a super Catholic, which used to be controversial. I mean, back in John F. Kennedy's days when he was running for president, there was a concern that his Catholicism would interfere with his job as president. They were worried that it would influence him in some way. And look where we are now. They're saying he's not religious enough as a Catholic. These people, like these Republican extremists, have taken a dark turn in the past 50 years. Things continue to get more and more extreme from these people, no joke.
Yield themselves to him, as he praying that he would turn their hearts as he does the rivers of water. But if they refuse the truth and go against the truth, I pray that, look, they would be confused, they would have conflict, and gridlock would settle upon Washington, D.C.
He said he's praying for gridlock. He's literally says he's praying for the government to be dysfunctional. He doesn't want the government of the United States to function. He wants to stop it in its tracks. Is this not concerning to anybody else? These pastors, and I think this guy specifically is actually a lawyer for the Family Research Council, quote unquote. He's a lawyer for the Family Research Council, which is an ultra-conservative think tank or something like that, or a charity of some sort. But these pastors are jumping into politics and doing everything in their power to make it fail to function as it's supposed to. This should be really fucking concerning.
Amen. I agree. There's a time to pray against evil, even if it's people are willfully participating.
100%. You know, David would pray that God would turn the enemy against themselves, and we need to be following that example.
In progressivism and liberalism, there are camps that set out to lie and twist the truth and be deceptive and things. But I have to say, it is a way of life with people like this, with the Family Research Council, with extreme Republicans. It's a way of life. It's not just this odd group over here, or this one news network over there is kind of shady and questionable, and they have some really weird ideas and they lie more often than not. It's not like that. These people are just dead set on propagandizing and twisting the truth and lying and revving people up into a blood frenzy at any cost. Let's get back to the article. This is by Beth Stoneburner. After denouncing the administration for supporting trans people, something that's quite literally life-saving, Perkins lashed out against reproductive health funding. But that, too, doesn't mean what he says it does. It's not just about abortions. Women with access to affordable birth control are less likely to ever need an abortion if they can afford getting pregnant in the first place. If they can avoid getting pregnant in the first place thanks to birth control and accurate, comprehensive sex education. Doesn't Perkins want pregnancies to be wanted, healthy, and affordable? Let's not forget the women suffering from endometriosis, ovarian cysts, and other issues with reproductive organs beyond pregnancy, who've been treated by Planned Parenthood. Guy doesn't care. It's like, do you want to reduce the rate of abortions? Yes? There are things we can do. Let's work together. Me and Republicans will work together to solve this issue, okay? Teach comprehensive sex education and make birth control easily accessible by everybody from age 12 and up, no matter what. Pass it out like fucking candy in health class. That's how you solve the abortion problem. Oh, you don't want to do that either? Why not? Why don't you want to teach kids how to be healthy and safe and not get pregnant when they're not ready to be pregnant? Why teach abstinence only? Why? What's the point? You are only going to increase abortion statistics by teaching abstinence only education. That's what it does. It only increases it. It only makes things worse. Because guess what? These kids, some percentage of them, are going to go out and do that anyways, despite your bullshit abstinence-only education. They're going to do it. And what happens when they actually go and do it? They didn't know how to be safe because you didn't fucking teach them. The school system failed them on that front. And now they're pregnant. And they're 12, 13, 14 years old, and they're not ready to be pregnant. They're not ready to be a mother. They're not ready to take care of a kid. And they're going to get an abortion because you didn't teach them how to be safe and teach them pregnancy prevention. You're too concerned about your stupid bullshit fucking religion to see past the nose on your face. Didn't consider the fact that you can either have fewer abortions or fewer people using birth control. One or the other. In health class, what you teach will either lead to more abortions or more birth control use. One or the other. These people want both, and that's not how the world works. Let's keep reading. This is Beth Stoneburner. Good luck finding evidence of Perkins denouncing the filibuster when Republicans decided it should no longer apply to Supreme Court justices. Was God okay with it then? And trans people were already in the military and in schools and in public restrooms for that matter. If he's only now aware of it, that's his problem. Agreed. These people have been here since the dawn of fucking time, and they're going to continue being here. The fact that he's refusing to accept their existence in the world just speaks to his supremacy mindset even more. Leave it to a conservative like Perkins to pray for literal gridlock in D.C. when so much of our current politics involves fixing the damage done by the previous Republican administration. He wasn't personally affected by it, so he's not used to people benefiting from competent government. But as we've seen, having qualified people running government agencies and having Democratic majorities committed to passing bills to help Americans actually makes people's lives better. Perkins isn't scared of some liberal agenda. He's afraid of people finding out that his party just can't get anything done while Democrats can. It's a pretty good point. And honestly, I said this in 2016 when Trump won the presidency. When Trump won, the Senate and the House all went to the Republicans. They controlled every branch of government from that moment on. They controlled the Supreme Court when he put Kavanaugh in. They had the majority in the Supreme Court. They controlled the executive branch, which is the presidency and the military. They controlled the legislative branch, too. All three forms of government. The Senate, the House, the presidency, the Supreme Court. We lived in the Republican America from 2017 onward. That is what they wanted it to be. And if it's not, then they're incompetent fools. Because they had all the levers of power of government. All of them. If government isn't shaped exactly as Republicans wanted it to be by 2018, by the midterms, what were they fucking doing? They had all the power and did nothing. Why? Because they're not interested in making changes. They don't want to fix things. They want to prevent the Democrats from fixing things. They want to own the libs at any cost. That's what it's all about. That's what it's always been about for decades now. I would say since 2010 at the very least. It's been about owning the libs and nothing else. They have an obsession with making their enemy fail.